What if I told you the biggest geopolitical hotspot in the world isn't the South China Sea or the Middle East, but a place most people have never even thought about? As we speak, global superpowers are scrambling for control, forming alliances, deploying military forces, and racing to dominate one of the most strategically vital regions on Earth. That region, the Arctic. And right now, a new geopolitical war is emerging between the United States, China, and Russia, right before our eyes. Why is the Arctic so important? What's hidden beneath its frozen landscapes that has the world's biggest powers fighting for dominance? And more importantly, how will this battle shape the future of global trade, energy, and military power? Stay tuned, because this is a story you don't want to miss. The Arctic, spanning over 4% of the Earth's surface, has long been dismissed as too cold, too remote, and too inhospitable to matter in global politics. But global warming is changing everything. As ice sheets melt year after year, two massive opportunities are emerging: vast, untapped natural resources and newly opened Arctic trade routes that could revolutionize global shipping. And as history has shown, whenever a new strategic region emerges, the United States will do whatever it takes to dominate it. But this time, things are different. Unlike Iraq, Latin America, or past US interventions, Washington isn't up against weak nations, it's facing great power resistance. The Arctic has become a proving ground for the new multipolar world order. The era of unquestioned US dominance is fading, and rival powers like Russia and China are staking their claims. Russia, despite facing Western sanctions and economic warfare, is still on track to achieve its goals while expanding its military footprint in the Arctic. Meanwhile, China, the world's manufacturing superpower, is rapidly asserting its economic influence, securing trade routes, investing in Arctic infrastructure, and even branding itself a near-Arctic state despite being thousands of miles away. The stakes? Unprecedented. The Arctic is no longer a frozen wasteland, it's the next major fault line in global power struggles. For decades, these nations never prioritized their Arctic claims. The region was simply too frozen, too hostile. But now, everything has changed. As the Arctic's economic and strategic value becomes undeniable, countries are scrambling to secure their territories. This has led to the creation of the Arctic Council, a forum where Arctic bordering nations coordinate their affairs. But here's where it gets interesting. Look at the list of member states, and you'll notice an odd one out. China. Despite being nowhere near the Arctic, China has aggressively pushed its way into Arctic diplomacy, even calling itself a near-Arctic state. A bold move, but one that makes perfect sense when you understand what's at stake. So, why do China, and even countries like India, care so much about the Arctic? Because the Arctic holds the key to global manufacturing, energy security, and the future of international trade. There are three things that determine the fate of global superpowers. 1. Access to critical minerals. 2. Control over energy supply. 3. Fast, secure shipping lanes. And the Arctic has all three. Let's start with rare earth minerals. These are the critical resources that power modern technology, everything from AI-driven robotics to advanced military weapons, electric vehicles, and renewable energy. Right now, China dominates this industry, producing 60% of the world's rare earth minerals and refining 90% of the global supply. That means China has a near monopoly over the materials needed to build the future. And Beijing has already weaponized this power. In December 2024, China banned the export of key rare minerals, including gallium, germanium, and antimony, to the US in direct retaliation for Washington's semiconductor sanctions. This sent shockwaves through American supply chains, skyrocketing prices, and cutting off critical industries from essential materials. For the US, this is an existential crisis. They simply don't have an alternative supply of these minerals within friendly nations. That's exactly why Greenland, a land most Americans probably never even think about, has become a top strategic target. Buried under Greenland's retreating ice sheets lies one of the world's largest untapped deposits of rare earth minerals. If the US could gain control of Greenland, it could break free from China's supply chokehold. And no one has fixated on this more than Donald Trump. In 2019, Trump proposed buying Greenland outright. At the time, many laughed it off as a ridiculous idea. But in reality, Trump was deadly serious. At his joint address to Congress, he said, We need Greenland for national security and economic dominance. And we are working with everybody involved to make it happen. His son, Donald Trump Jr., even visited Greenland, stating, "They and the free world need safety, security, and strength. This deal must happen. Make Greenland great again." But there's just one problem. Greenland isn't for sale. Denmark, which holds sovereignty over Greenland, has rejected every US attempt to take control, going as far back as 2019. So what's Washington's backup plan? Simple. They've deployed every tool in their geopolitical playbook, from backing Greenlandic independence movements to outright military threats. Yes, you heard that right. Trump has refused to rule out using military force to secure Greenland. But this fight isn't just about minerals. It's also about global trade. For centuries, the Arctic was impossible to navigate, covered in thick ice year-round. But with rising temperatures, that's changing. A new shipping corridor has opened, one that could replace the Suez Canal and completely disrupt global trade routes. China is already calling it the Arctic Silk Road, a cold, icy highway that could bypass US-controlled waters entirely. Instead of sailing through the Malacca Strait or the Suez Canal, Chinese cargo ships could take a direct route through Arctic waters, cutting travel time by up to 40%. And that's a game changer. For China, this is a lifeline. If the US ever tried to blockade its traditional trade routes, China could simply reroute through the Arctic, bypassing US naval control altogether. And guess who controls most of this new Arctic trade route? Russia. Moscow has wasted no time investing billions into nuclear-powered icebreakers, Arctic ports, and massive energy projects. For Russia, the Arctic is an economic goldmine. It holds 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its untapped natural gas. This is why Russia and China are forming an Arctic alliance, one that could reshape global power forever. And as tensions between NATO and Russia continue to escalate, the Arctic is now a frontline battleground. The ice is melting. The world is shifting. And the battle for the Arctic is only just beginning. So, what do you think? Will the US succeed in dominating the Arctic, or is Russia and China's Arctic alliance unstoppable? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into global power struggles.